Here at CEO.CA, we're proud to introduce completely new stories to the audience. And for me here, I've met Ali Haji, CEO of American Tungsten, and are excited to share the story together with you guys. Ali, can you talk to us about your value proposition? American Tungsten, what are you all about?
We're about bringing the IMA mine in Idaho to production and be the fastest producer of tungsten in North America, with an anticipated goal of doing so in the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Now talk to us about IMA mine in specifics, and understand that this is about bringing a past producing mine, critical minerals mine into production again. So tell us about the significance of that.
Well, a little bit about tungsten first. I think it's a lesser understood element, one that is not really considered critical. Everybody knows about lithium, everybody speaks about various other critical elements, but tungsten is a very necessary element to hardened steel. It's used in armor, defense mechanisms, as well as nuclear power. It melts at 2,500 degrees centigrade. It is harder, only second to diamond. And so its requirement is rather significant. There are also export restrictions in place between China and the rest of the world, and as a result, we're starting to see the price rise quite dramatically as well. The state of the world, unfortunately, with all of the crisis and conflict, requires additional tungsten to keep that going, but also to ensure national security. So the IMA mine, being a past producer with the second highest grade in North America, and our ability to DSO as a result of our very high grade, will allow us to provide at least 8% of U.S. tungsten requirement if we were to process 500 tons per day. We can turn back online in about 12 to 18 months, so production can come online that quickly. Should we increase our production profile to 1,000 tons per day, we'd be satisfying 16% of the U.S. tungsten demand. Well,
the other thing about the story is that you're all about fast tracking, right? How's that possible?
Well, for a couple of reasons. The IMA mine sits on private and patented land, and as a result, you own the surface rights and the mineral rights beneath it. The secondary reason is the fact that our adits, given it is an underground mine, all sit above the water table in Idaho, which is fairly arid to begin with. So that we have no water damage in any of our adits. We have no discharge from any of our adits. So we don't require environmental permitting from a discharge perspective. The fact that it is a DSO model where we're not putting heavy infrastructure in place for us.
Clarify what DSO is for us.
DSO is direct shipment of ore. So you mine and you ship it for processing. So as a result of us doing a DSO model without any heavy infrastructure that would be above ground, so to speak, we do not require federal permits. State level permits are primarily around health and safety, so that's MSHA. We've submitted our paperwork to MSHA. In fact, we've received our approval to proceed with the work that we've already commenced. So we started our rehabilitation of our portals, and we're keen to get drilling here in short order, which I'm sure you have a few more detailed questions around that.
Well, first, let's talk about the key risks that you're managing with your team.
Well, in terms of where we're situated, we're up about 3.5 hours away from Boise. So you've got a couple of logistical issues with respect to where you're going to house everybody. Thankfully, we have property on site, a 3-bedroom house and a core shack, and that's where we aim to put everybody in place. As far as the team is concerned, I took the helm of the organization in April, and I brought on some very critical individuals, one being Jim Whitaker, the Chief Operating Officer of Capstone Copper. It's $6.5–7 billion company. He's only allowed one board seat, and he decided to join me. I like to joke that it might be the tea in Chile, or he just truly believes in the IMA mine. The additional individuals are Dave Sabarin, he's our VP Mining Operations. We've got Austin Zinsser, our VP Exploration, an individual that lives in Boise, has worked with Perpetua for 15 years from
Perpetua Resources.
Yep. From Greenfield all the way now to that $2 billion EXIM grant.
Understood.
So we've assembled a very strong team to manage that risk, and the conversations we're having with government agencies, thanks to Dan Nicholas, who I brought on the board back in May, are advancing quite rapidly. In fact, I had the pleasure of meeting with Congressman Simpson's office in Boise, Idaho, not too long ago, and they are doing all they can to support us.
I mean, you were telling me before we started shooting that on September 5th, it's now the Department of War in the States, not the Department of Defense.
Correct.
I mean, how telling is that, right?
I think it's extremely telling. It's where the world's heading, unfortunately, or fortunately for us as a business
model, yes.
But unfortunately for, I think, the security and welfare of various individuals around the world. NATO now saying that they will spend 5% of their GDP on defense, of course, will also increase the demand for tungsten. What we're seeing in terms of developing nations and them stepping up their infrastructure as well as their defense capabilities means the tungsten market's going to grow from a $5.3 billion industry today to close to $11 billion in the next 5 years.
Wow, that's a short period, eh? Now talk to us as well about your funding strategy, because this is a lot of work. In the next, you said 12
to 18 months.
12 to 18 months.
That's right.
That needs a significant amount of capital, I assume. How much do you need, and what's the strategy to raise that kind of money?
The beauty of this operation, given it is DSO, the capital requirement is quite minimal. In terms of our cap stack today and our treasury, we had a raise announced in the first week of July for $2.5 billion. We ended up having demand for $13 million and ended up taking down $7 million. That $7 million has allowed us to increase our speed at which we rehabilitate the portals and get ready for production. It's also allowed us to increase our exploration program to grow our resource. So we're very well funded all the way through to the capital expenditure that would be required to come online for production. That capital requirement is estimated to be $20 million US. So a $20 million US investment to produce 8% of US demand is quite an astounding number. We've spoken with government agencies. I should add, we have institutional investors that came into our placement. So we have the ability to go back to the institutions should we need to raise that $20 million in equity. However, given the importance of tungsten and the criticality as deemed by the Department of War and various other agencies, we are quite confident that we will be able to obtain the vast majority, if not all, of our capital requirements through non-dilutive sources such as the Department of Energy, the Department of War, and the DPA Title III, as well as other funding strategies that the government is offering.
I think the last thing I want to close on is about any strategic partnerships you may be working on at this time as well.
Absolutely. I think, it would be silly not to, or perhaps naive not to. In terms of strategic partnerships working on, some are offtake related. Others are vertical integration. So folks that have any sort of processing capacity for tungsten. We're also speaking with other tungsten miners to see if they'd like to take a piece of us and help us grow our organization. But we've assembled a very strong technical team that has worked in the tungsten market in North America up until 2015. So we're also on the hunt. Mm-hmm. So we might be looking at some asset acquisitions as well. Well,
or is that the kind of conversation you're having here at the conference?
I wouldn't say primarily that conversation. It's mostly updating our existing investors, but importantly ensuring that we have a strategy to line up the capital necessary to build this thing in the next 12 to 18 months if the government agencies were not to conclude their business with us in a timely manner.
And I'm sure the story is resonating more and more with the people that are physically here with you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. It's certainly best to speak to people in person. A lot of these folks are in the same city that I'm in, which is Toronto, but the international players, Beaver Creek's absolutely where you want to be.
Yeah, Australians, your other European.
Exactly.
Europeans. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here with us.
Of course. My pleasure.
Yeah. It's a TUNG on the stock exchange for you guys. And you can also go to the website, which is going to be linked below. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.